expressed on the following program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership.
Arizona, Phoenix. Brother Mike back on the radio. Welcome to HardcoreChristianity.com. Today's Bible study, Transgender Horror, A Nightmare on Elm Street. Hey, will you call somebody and tell them the radio program's on? I'll make a couple of announcements. You make the call. Hey, this is Brother Mike. I'm the professional counselor at the Arizona Deliverance Center in Central Phoenix, 150th Avenue, just south of the road. On the website, HardcoreChristianity.com. We have all of our ministry services available, including our new ministry that we just recently implemented, and it has been going excellent so far. Thursday and Friday nights are the evenings. The Deliverance Center is open. 7 p.m. Friday is my teaching service for my radio listeners. Thursdays are healing rooms. Just come in the front door and turn right and check in with Lori, and then go to the small sanctuary. Also, our new ministry on Thursday nights at 7 p.m. If you have a born-again Christian that you know of who is mentally ill and wants to be healed, and I said that right, and wants to be healed of a mental illness, Thursday night, our mental illness healing class is at 7 p.m. It's in Sanctuary A on Thursday nights. On the website, you can sign up for our next free seminar. It's usually the best one of the year. One coming up in February is our Women's Healing Night. The ladies get healed at the next seminar. Sign up for it. You can't miss that. It's usually the most anointed seminar of the entire year. The radio archives are on the website. The PayPal button for you to send us another donation is on there. Thank you for 16 fantastic years of support. Sister Karen's on the homepage of the website. She'll be happy to list your house for you. She loves working with born-again Christians. By the way, thank you for all those referrals you sent her last year. What is the real Nightmare on Elm Street? That's a movie, but this one's real. This one is actually real. Transgendered horror. Coming from a part of the country you would never expect. This comes out of the, you ain't going to believe this department. Just recently, some radical feminists held a convention where they were unmasking the horrors of young girls and what they have experienced in transgender clinics. And also, they revealed the abuse lesbians are enduring by the publicity of just gender identity ideology. It's really interesting. It was the Heritage Foundation last Monday. A woman named Jennifer Chavez, an attorney and a board member of the Women's Liberation Front, a radical feminist organization. Most of those women are lesbians. She gave voice to several heartbroken parents whose children have come to believe they are the opposite sex. Now, when it comes to transgender, as you know, there is no such thing as transgender. There's only two genders. And transgender is caused by powerful, superpowered sexual perversion demons. These are the same spirits that cause homosexuality. It took Satan over 30 years for homosexuality to become normal here in America, but it's only going to take him 2 or 3 for transgender to become normalized here in America. It's moving much faster, much more rapidly than homosexuality did. No comparison. No comparison. And at this seminar, they had mothers, heterosexual women who were mothers, giving testimonies about the nightmares they've endured when their daughters decided to transition into a boy. And the article, here's an interesting section of the article. Quote, despite their parents' objection, these children have managed to undergo hormonal treatments and surgeries that have left them mutilated and sterilized, procedures that were approved and facilitated by therapists, schools, and medical institutions. Chavez explained she was telling their stories so that the parents whose identities were not disclosed could be heard, since the mainstream media ignores them. As a professional counselor, this transgender thing is appalling, to say the least. As a secular counselor, I would have been almost as appalled as I am now as a Christian counselor, because the scientific research for transgenderism has not been accomplished. And the tests and the trials scientifically for transitioning hormonally and physically into another sex has not been researched enough to determine the dangers of doing it, if any. So this transgender movement is moving so fast, it's way outpacing science, and school counselors and therapists and psychologists and psychiatrists are being duped into the system, thinking that when a person feels they're actually not the sex they were born into, that they can transition to the other sex and be a, quote, normal, unquote, person. Well, that's never been proved scientifically, and this thing is literally out of control. It's literally out of control. Here's some examples. Quote, one mother was shocked when her 13-year-old announced she was a transgender boy, even though she spurned sports, had no stereotypical masculine interests. The girl was on the autism spectrum and had a long history of not fitting in with other girls. She got the idea she was transgendered from a school presentation where approximately 5% of the student body self-identified it as non-binary or transgender. Some of these students were taking hormones, and one 16-year-old had undergone a mastectomy. Quote, I took her to a gender clinician seeking expert advice, the mother said. Instead, he accepted her new identity and told me I was to refer to her with masculine pronouns. I was to call her by a masculine name and buy a binder to flatten her breasts, the clinician told her. The therapist directed the mother to put her daughter on puberty blockers and was given false assurances about their safety, telling her they were a safe way to explore gender. The mother was also told that if she did not comply, her daughter will be at a high risk of suicide. That portion was extremely revealing. As you can see it now, these transgendered children are being infected with powerful sexual perversion demons and rejection demons and fear spirits when they're young. The clinicians that are getting a hold of them to try to help them can't help them. So they're seeing transgendering as a method of helping the child be more accepting of themselves. And as a result, the therapists and the counselors and the psychologists and the social workers are being sucked in to this gasping demonic fraud that people are born and they are not the sex they were when they were born. The article goes on to say, quote, questioning a child's belief that he or she is the opposite sex is now against the law in certain states and jurisdictions where conversion therapy is banned. Okay, now, in this portion of the seminar, she's talking about California. You are not allowed to go to a clinic that does not approve of transgender. If a patient feels that they're the opposite sex, you are not allowed to provide therapy consulting services to get them to see that they are actually not the other sex. Conversion therapy now is banned in some states, California being the first state that did it. The mother said, quote, I've been living with this nightmare for over 4 years, and despite my best efforts, my daughter plans to medically transition when she turns 18 later this year. Quote, as a lifelong Democrat, I'm outraged by my former party and find it ironic that only conservative news outlets have reported my story without bias or censorship. We parents are ignored and vilified while our children are suffering in the guise of inclusivity and acceptance. She goes on to mention that the Democratic Party will not listen to her and will not hear the stories about these poor children who are being traumatized going through transgenderism. Quote, why are physicians medicalizing children in the name of an unproven, malleable gender identity? Why are lawmakers enshrining gender identity into state and federal laws? Now here you see the point I was making earlier. There isn't enough scientific research to prove any of this. We don't know what the hazards are of being a trans. But the media is 100% behind it. Hollywood is 100% behind it. And they promote it and they make it seem like it's fun. They make it seem like it's an adventure. When in fact it's not an adventure, it's an emotional holocaust. The article said, quote, another girl who decided she was a male, announcing she was trans after having spent a significant amount of time on the internet. Satan's most incredible tool, as you know, is the internet now. And he floods it with pornography, and now he's flooding it with transgenderism. People are reading through these articles and watching these YouTube videos on being trans, and the demons are entering their brain and telling them, hey, that's you. You're not a girl. You're a guy. See? And here's why you're a guy. And the demons actually enter the child's brain and actually put thoughts of transgenderism in their mind. The mother said, quote, her personality changed almost overnight. She went from being a sweet, loving girl to a foul-mouthed, hateful, pansexual male. The mother couldn't believe it. Quote, at age 16, my daughter ran away and reported to the Department of Child Services that she felt unsafe living with me because I refused to refer to her using male pronouns. Folks, listen to me. This transgender issue is exactly the same thing as the homosexual issue. These are the same demons. They're the same demons that cause heterosexuals to be promiscuous and cause sex addictions. If you have this and you're a born-again Christian and you need help, 602-636-5800. This does not have to be your biography. 602-636-5800. Hurry!
The views expressed on this program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership. This program was sponsored by Michael W. Smith.